Sims shaped my entire childhood, and now there's a new game that might just bring that magic back. Hello, my name is Sophie, and like many of you probably did, I grew up playing The Sims. It really wouldn't be a reach at all for me to say that it genuinely formed part of who I am today. I was first introduced to The Sims 2 by my childhood best friend when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. His older sister let us play her copy of the game on her laptop, and I was completely mesmerised. It was a virtual dollhouse, stories I'd created that I could see in front of my own eyes, and I could make the best versions of the characters that I had in my mind. We would rush out of school, begging our parents to let us go round his house so we could spend hours giggling in front of the screen, completely lost in the drama of our Sims' lives. Even outside of the game, we would tell elaborate stories of alien abductions in Strangetown and spend our golden time at primary school on Fridays drawing pictures of the families we planned to create next. We even got our whole friendship group into it, and while I don't remember much about that first family or the household that we messed around with, I do remember how I felt. My parents accidentally bought me the DS version first, and while it wasn't quite what I had in mind, I still absolutely fell in love with the weird chaos of fighting aliens at the hotel and turning it into a rat. If you know, you know. The game honestly terrified me at points, but I think it was character building. As an 8 or 9 year old, I wasn't really an avid user of the internet, and there weren't guides around like there are now, so I honestly felt like a pro when I finally figured out how to beat the game. Much to my happiness, I finally got my own copy of the PC version. I would spend every second of my spare time on the family computer, making my Sims woohoo and panicking when that unskippable cutscene blasted the screen, filling mass graveyards to collect every single ghost type like some kind of sick Pokemon game, burning everything to ashes, and spamming motherload to build square mansions with about 20 ceiling lights per room. So pretty much the rite of passage for first-time simmers. I'd wake up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, literally thrilled at the prospect of an entire day stretching out ahead of me just to play The Sims however I wanted. I remember in particular this one time a family friend came over and she bent down to see what I was doing and asked what my high score was. And I just remember pausing thinking, there isn't one? Even then, I realised how different The Sims was to other games at the time. And that was exactly what I loved so much about it. It was mine to make of it what I wanted. An entire world I could micromanage and simultaneously have no control over the chaos that occurred. It was honestly special, and I could define what the high score was. For some Sims, that meant living in a roach-infested trailer park with 10 kids and 10 different baby daddies. For other Sims, it was becoming a rich celebrity chef living in a gated community. As a kid, I sometimes felt like I wasn't good enough and wouldn't be cool enough to be part of what everyone else was doing. And The Sims let me be a part of everything, things that I didn't even imagine. I could do anything I wanted, create a rich world full of stories, literally hundreds of unique worlds with their own stories. But not only that, I found that there was a whole flourishing community online of like-minded simmers who'd post their own stories, and I'd spend hours in particular reading through Meet Me to the Rivers blog on LiveJournal. A Saturday night, pizza and my PC, that was literally my idea of bliss. I got so many ideas from that, the first iterations of rotational play and an Uberhood. That was a complete revelation to me, but at the time I didn't really know how to do it myself. And then in 2009, Sims 3 came out, and at first I wasn't really sure how to feel about the graphics change. Some people call them the potato Sims. But Sims 3 gripped me perhaps even more than Sims 2 did. That open world that you could explore, the colour wheel, immersive personalities and aspirations. I'd spend so much time following various Sims around the town in their sloppy jalopies or even just jogging. Oh, there goes Gracie Loveland to her shift at the science lab. Even when I wasn't playing, I was watching Life Simmer Legacy challenges and Queen's Let's Plays. I remember so clearly the excitement of a new expansion pack release and having to wait until Christmas or my birthday until I could install them. Insert picture of my poor 2011 Asus laptop wheezing in the background. And who could forget the Sims 3 machinimas? I remember so vividly the one Nefet's created to that song 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. and that honestly inspired me to just create my own. The Sims continued to be a safe place for me, a place I could escape into and laugh at the silliness of my witches cursing other Sims into frogs, meteors hitting the school, and woohooing with the Grim Reaper. Simply because I could. I had screenshot albums, literally hundreds of pictures of my family's many generations, weird glitches, because we all know there are a lot in this game, and beautiful sunrises in Appaloosa Plains and cosy twilights in mysterious Moonlight Falls. I fell into downloading custom content and learned so much about script mods, game files and software in general, and it just added a literal whole extra layer of customizability. I didn't even have all of the store content or the expansion or stuff packs, as I could never afford it, but I still had thousands of hours of fun, and I still to this day learn new things about the game. And then in 2014, Sims 4 was released, and at the time I was still really content with Sims 3, but I was excited for something new and what I imagined would be better. It seemed to be the natural order of the Sims game's life cycle at this point. Every few years a new iteration of the game was released, an improvement to the last, and I was interested to see what they'd do differently this time, only to be sorely disappointed and left empty-handed. There was no open world as we knew, it was just a grey map with closed off areas. There was no challenge of keeping babies or toddlers alive, there were no aliens or pools. Sims only had 3 personality traits with little to no impact on the world around them. Every Sim just felt very similar. The emotion system felt flat. It was easy to keep Sims happy. There weren't any cars. Sims just disappeared into the ether after stepping out their front door. There was no colour wheel. The lore was just an afterthought, a supposed alternate universe. I didn't really mind the loading screens because we had them in Sims 2, but the game was just so empty, so lifeless to me, and honestly a far-fetched from the rich worlds and the stories that we were previously blessed with. And the game just told you about happenings through text boxes and those constant pop-ups. Unfortunately, I, like many others, stopped playing and went back to Sims 3 for a few years, and even Sims 2. Even coming back to Sims 4 in later years once the game had many more lackluster DLCs. Even with thousands of mods installed and all of the packs, the game was just boring to me, and I was left desperately trying to experience what I had before. But I just could not stand the set dressing and the empty, hollow worlds that were just so devoid of life. It wasn't until 2020, I think, when the Sims 2 community seemed to have a second wind, and I became encaptured again by Uberhoods and rotational plays that I now could do thanks to fresh tutorials. I even started my own blog on Tumblr about the happenings in my Uberhoods, but ultimately Sims 2 and 3 are aged games, and they're difficult to run well without significant tweaks and fixes installed, and again, they are old. They're still impressively popular, but it is time for something new and fresh in my opinion. It was 2019, I was boiling alive in my bed in the British summer heat when I saw a new video enter my YouTube recommendations, Creating and Editing Lots by Paralives. I clicked on it wondering what that could be, and my mind was honestly just blown. It showed the developer effortlessly defining lot boundaries, placing them next to each other and resizing them just by dragging the mouse. And it felt like a return to what we'd lost since The Sims 3, and this was just on another level. I felt that same feeling again, like a remnant from the past. It felt like home and excitement of all the possibilities that I could create once again. Pure, honest, just raw excitement bubbled in my stomach. We hadn't seen anything like this since Sims 3, and we could place them next to each other and resize them just by dragging that mouse. This was it, the game that I'd been waiting so long for, something that I honestly never thought I'd get at that point. I'm so grateful that I get to live in the version of the universe in which Paralives exists. Instantly, I was hooked, and since then, it's all I've been thinking about. Well, I do have some other brain cells that contain other thoughts, but mostly Paralives. And 6 years later, here we are, 1 month out from release, about to begin a whole new journey. Of course, it needs to be said that Paralives is not The Sims. It's an entirely new game from a new developer, but I think it's fair to say that many Sims players are looking to Paralives for their new main life sim, with a lot of hope riding on it. After all, EA/Maxis have pretty much had the monopoly over the genre for more than 2 decades at this point. From what we've seen so far, the Paralives team are taking things we already love about life sims and building entirely new systems, and arguably doing them better. One of the things that I really admire is how closely they actually listen to the community. A great example of that is the character design. Many people gave feedback that the body lines on Paras looks a bit too harsh, and the team actually took that on board and toned them down. And it's such a refreshing level of transparency and collaboration, and not what we're used to from EA. I can't wait to get my hands on the game. Running up to and following the launch, I'll be sharing updates, timelines, stories from my neighbourhoods and tutorials. So tell me your story in the comments. How did you first fall in love with life sims? I really want to know what your story is and how you got into them. So please do let me know down below in the comments. So thank you so much for watching the video. There will be more coming from me in the coming weeks, especially up to the run of the release of Paralives. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.